these people?
Oh, here we go. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Angel in the Afternoon. I'm Angel Rivera, and we do have a lot to talk about this week, so let's just get into it because I'm congested. I'm not feeling well. I think my allergies are acting up again since the weather here where I live in New Jersey changes like crazy. One day is cold, the next day is in the 70s, the next day is back in the 40s, the next day is in the 80s. And like tomorrow, for example, so today's supposed to be 72, and the high is, let me see, 64 tomorrow, 65, 78 Monday, 83 Tuesday, 88 Wednesday, 87 Thursday. Then it's supposed to drop back down next weekend in the 70s and 60s. So yeah, we got insane weather, goes back and forth. My allergies act up every time the weather changes, so weather changing a lot. So here we go. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Me, actually, I'm used to saying us because Witchy as well is sick. I guess her allergies are acting up too, and Alex had other things to do, so he couldn't come on either. So I'm by myself this week, but that's all right because I did 100+ episodes on almost 100 episodes on myself, so I'm used to this and I'm ready to go. So make sure you guys like and subscribe before we start. Let's see here. So let's get into it. Oh, here it is. So I came across this. So figured. Look at this. Does this remind you of anything? Excuse me. Quote, I am pleased to announce today that my administration officially filed a presentation and plan to the highly respected Commission of Fine Arts, what will be the greatest and most beautiful triumphal arc anywhere in the world. This will be a wonderful addition to Washington, D.C. area for all Americans to come and enjoy for many decades to come. President Donald J. Trump. What did this remind you of? To me, it reminds me a lot of those plans that came out after World War II, when Hitler had these grandiose plans for Berlin, and they had a lot of stuff like this, the over-the-top, grandiose, ridiculous arches like this. It's like it seems like Donald Trump, and we know where Trump got his inspiration for this because that's what it looks like to me. If you go back, there's documentaries on this. He never built any of it, or at least he might have started building some, but he never finished, and they're still littered around Berlin. At least the skeletons of these things, and that's what it reminded me of, just like the Adolf Hitler type of um I'm looking for architecture. So yeah, I think this is just absurd. I think there's more of this down here. Let me see. Yep. So these are artist renditions. Will this get built? Definitely not. Get rid of that. But still, I mean, it's just that grandiose, over the top, ridiculous architecture that a city, like an empire, would build, in their capital city. You look at Rome, you look at Cairo, you look at Athens, like Greece, and all these empires who build this over the top, ridiculous marble or stone buildings like this, So the American Empire is next. We're gonna allegedly build something like this. I don't think we will ultimately. No one wants to spend the money on that bullshit. But let's see here. What else? Oh, definitely not that. Whoops. Here we go. Oh, come on. There we go. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Well, Alex is not here either, which he had other things to do, so he's not with me this week, so I'm by myself. Anyways, I stumbled across this cartoon earlier, and I thought it was a TikTok thing. So, growing up as a millennial be like? It makes no sense, but okay,
Wow.
let's just go with it. This is what it like growing up as a millennial.
Wow. Childhood was great.
I'm excited for...
Well, it was great. The 90s were pretty late, early 80s, or early 80s. Late 80s, early 90s were pretty awesome. So let's see.
bright future.
Oops. Is that a little too high? Hold on. Hold on. Make this a little lower.
9/11.
What?
Yeah, it's 9/11. It's going to be the worst terror.
Sorry from the
Wow,
beginning.
childhood was great. I'm excited for a bright future.
9/11.
What?
What?
Yeah, it's 9/11. It's going to be
Yeah.
the worst terrorist attack in human history, and the world's never going to be the same.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm sure by the time I get to college, things will...
Financial crisis. There's
Nope.
going to be one of the worst financial crises ever.
Yep.
All right, well, whatever. I'm sure by the time I'm 30...
Global pandemic.
COVID.
There's going to be a global pandemic that irreparably shifts how society operates. Forever.
This is becoming too much for me.
Me.
All right, well, I was always shown that the key to happiness is just raising a family and owning a home. So I'm just going to focus on that because I'm finally making $100,000 a year.
$250,000.
Huh?
Huh?
Yeah, you're going to need $250,000 a year for all those things now.
Are you kidding me? Gee, I mean, I guess I'll just go back to medical school then.
$300,000, that's going to cost $300,000 and also 10 years of your life.
Oh my... Whatever. I'll just pursue my passions and become an artist.
They're going to try to replace you with AI.
Good God. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm just going to revert back to my childhood and watch some of my favorite shows. Try to forget about this.
Yep. That's pretty much what it's like to be a millennial. So, yeah, pretty fucked. Let's see here. %. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. There we go. 90% of news anchors were CIA operatives. Yep.
If you talk to your parents, every news anchor that they remember from their childhood, there's like a 90% chance that was actual CIA operative. And this is documented, released documents. Guys like Walter Cronkite, like one of the most famous news anchors of all time, working for the CIA to engineer reality. And they're in the business of engineering reality. And you just have to understand that so much of our reality is engineered. It doesn't mean you walk around like a schizophrenic thinking that everything's out to get you, everybody's targeting you. You see something happen on the news, you see something happen in your life, and you just have one word. Just memorize this one word when anybody listening, when you hear that stuff or see that stuff. Maybe. They say, oh, this happened today because of this one thing. Maybe. Just maybe. You don't have to say there's some global cabal and like I need to drill down to the end and go break into the Bohemian Grove and like figure out all the shit that's going on. You don't need to do all that. Just maybe. That word can protect you from so much of the bullshit that's going on with engineered reality.
There you go. Most of your favorite news or your parents' favorite news anchors were CIA. And Walter Cronkite, one of the better reporters of that time, he's allegedly was CIA. So it's like, oh, you can't trust anybody or anything. No, you can't. Anything else here before I move on? Let me see. Well, there's this. Where is it? Didn't I save it? No, this is old. Hold on. There's a Wait, I thought here it is. All right, let me just go to this. We the people in New Jersey don't want AI data centers and warehouses flooding our area. Yep. No, we don't. People around the Garden State are fed up. This lady spoke up at her first time at a meeting, and these boards don't want you to speak up and out about our erosion of our land. So this is this.
And if we haven't made it abundantly clear, we do not want a warehouse. We do not want an AI data center. We don't want any of it. Avenue, just in case anyone wants to know. They seem to think it's important that we all tell everybody where we live. I haven't heard any of you say that before you spoke. it seems that this is a pattern that I'm picking up here. This is the first town meeting I've ever been to, so this is all new for me and very disappointing. I voted in the elections that put all of you here. So did all these people. I heard someone back there, I don't know who it was, say that you are elected officials, not leaders. Very good point, whoever it was. Beautiful.
Facts.
That is the truth. Okay? No one went to your doors, knocked on them, and said, please run for office. Please. No, you all volunteered. And yet I see an entire panel up here, especially you, sir. The mayor of all people should set a precedent for everyone else on this council. You very rarely even look at people in the eye. Okay? The entire time you're looking down, you said you're taking notes. Someone made a very good point. This is all being recorded. See? You could go back, and there's transcribers, exactly. You could go back, look at the notes, go over it later. Trust me, you're still getting paid. It's coming out of our taxes. Okay? You can go home, put in some extra time. I am so sorry that this entire time I see boredom, irritation, that we're all bothering you with this concern about our health, our homes, our children, our property values, if all you can think of is financial reasons. How about our property values? No one said a goddamn thing about that. No one said once how our property values are going to bottom out, okay? No matter how many...
Yes, because nobody wants to live next to an AI data center that it's constantly humming and making noises 24 hours a day. So if that gets built, yeah, I mean, property values are going to bottom out because nobody wants to live near that. So, yeah.
Standards you have, sir. Okay, apparently they're not high enough for us. Because our standard is, and I think that you guys have figured this out, and if we haven't made it abundantly clear, we do not want a warehouse. We do not want an AI data center. We don't want any of it. And the reason...
Well, the Monroe Township, New Jersey City Council is going to shove it up your ass because they're getting all these campaign donations from these AI data centers, these companies like Microsoft or Amazon or what else? Who's building AI? It's almost everybody's building an AI these days. Tesla, whoever's building this AI, they're going to shove it right up your ass because they're getting more money than they can ever dream of in donations. Because actually in a local small district, small town like this, I mean, the donations must be crazy, the money they're getting.
Nobody showed up before like this to complain is because we didn't know. The double standard, okay, is ridiculous. Go away. We voted you in, sir. Look, I'll be as respectful as you are to me. Honestly. You're the mayor, and I know you feel as though right now that we should treat you as such, as your office, but you are not treating us the same way. Respect is earned. You don't just get it. You don't just get it because you tricked us into electing you.
True. Right.
Yeah.
True. Well said. Oh, man. I mean, these data centers they're just going to keep building them and building them because they need more and more computing power because these AIs need to get more and more powerful in order to justify them being around. If they're just there and there's no expansion, no improvement, then these companies don't get to make any money off them. They don't make any money off them, then it's just a big, massive waste of $100 billion invested in all this stuff. So, excuse me. Whoops. Yeah, crypto mining is a whole other thing. You're right. Kieran says American Edition was fired last night. Yeah, definitely. Check it out if you haven't already. I'm sorry, I'm so congested and I can barely speak, but I'm still doing the show anyways, so let's see here. Well, this something came across me as well. Big implications for New Jersey. How does their 2013 conversion ban hold up after the Supreme Court's 8-1 ruling on protecting therapists' free speech rights? Supreme Court says that states cannot use licensing power to censor talk therapy viewpoints on sexual orientation, gender identity with minors. Rutgers experts said New Jersey's ban likely cannot be enforced anymore. So, as everybody knows, New Jersey and a lot of blue states have banned gay conversion therapy. Basically, mean if your child is gay, um, you can't use conversion therapy to turn them straight. Sorry, allegedly, the therapy doesn't work. Some people say it does work. I don't know. I mean, to me, what I've seen, it seems to be pretty barbaric. But at the same time, it's like who are we as the government to ban this stuff? I mean, if parents want to put their kids through hell like this, who am I to stop it? But at the same time, it's like it's just it is kind of barbaric. So let's see, is this the article or is this a transcript? Yes, it's just a transcript. So I'm not gonna play that, but I just thought it was interesting that Supreme Court and the only one the only one in that 8-1 decision that ruled against this is Ketanji Brown Jackson. The other 8, even the other 2 liberals in the court ruled that gay conversion therapy is essentially free speech, and this is an anti-free speech decision to do this to therapists. That's really, in my personal opinion, just that's really just dubious at best. That's a dubious. It's kind of like when they did Roe versus Wade, and they did it, and the reason why they justified their ruling because of patient privacy. I mean, that's dubious. I mean, a lot of people argue Roe versus Wade was good, but their legal reasoning for it was really dubious. And now here we go again. This time, you can't ban gay conversion therapy because it violates the therapist's free speech rights. That's essentially what this says here. And I'm like, yeah, that's dubious. That's absolutely dubious. So, let's see. So what do you guys thoughts on that? Now let's get to some other stories here. Where is it's like maybe I should be organizing for the show, but problem is I don't have much time for it. So you know what? Let's just get to the stories this week. So let's start with this one. No interest in that. If I actually share my screen again, then that'd be great. So the music industry was trying to they're so desperate to stop piracy from their music, even though these days you really need the pirate music. All you got to do is just stream it online. I mean, I thought piracy of music was pretty much over. Back in my day, when I was a teenager and younger, we had Napster, we have LimeWire. Remember LimeWire? If you're old enough to remember those days, we were able to pretty much pirate whatever music we wanted. I'm not saying I did it. I plead the fifth on that, but I'm just saying, there is a ton of people who use LimeWire, who used Napster, there's a bunch of other services too, I'm sure, which I can't remember right now. I'm sure you guys in the chat would remember, but yeah, today I don't know how piracy would be a thing for the music industry, at least, but it is. Anyway, Supreme Court blocks music industry's push to cut off millions off the internet were piracy claims. So what the music industry wanted to do was basically if they found you guilty of piracy, they would demand your ISP to cut you off the internet altogether. Basically, if they say you're guilty, if they say you're guilty, then they get to cut off your internet access. Supreme Court unanimously rules that Cox Communications are not liable for subscriber piracy in Sony Music Entertainment case. That's how far and insane they've gotten, the music industry, that they were basically demanding ISPs to basically remove you from the internet if you were caught pirating music today, which is absurd. I mean, it's like these are, luckily the Supreme Court ruled correctly, or else then a lot of us would be off the internet, because they would use that as an excuse to kick us off the internet, even though I think most people don't pirate music these days, so I don't know why Sony thought it necessary to sue, but I digress. The Supreme Court has unanimously refused to let the recording industry turn internet providers into copyright enforcers with the power to cut millions of people off modern life. The ruling, handed down on Wednesday in Cox Communications versus Sony Music Entertainment, kills a legal theory that would have given ISPs one rational choice when they received the copyright complaint. Sever the connection first, figure out the truth later. That was what Sony was demanding from ISPs. It's like, oh yeah, we say this person's guilty, so cut off the internet access, and then we'll figure out whether they're actually guilty later. So that's outrageous. I mean, luckily the Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 against this, because the absurdity of this would have been unbelievable. But, it's America. I'm shocked that they ruled correctly, but I digress. All 9 justices thankfully agreed that Cox Communications bears no liability for the piracy of its subscribers. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the majority, stated, under our precedents, the company is not liable as a copyright infringer for merely providing a service to the general public with knowledge that it will be used by some to infringe copyrights. The real significance of the ruling isn't what it means for Cox's balance sheet. It prevents it from happening to everyone who depends on the internet connection to live, work, and communicate, which in 2026 is functionally all of us. Consider what the recording industry was actually proposing. Sony Music Entertainment and more than 50 other labels represented artists like Sabrina Carpenter, Gibeon, I don't know who that is, and Dodachi, I don't know who the hell that is either. I can't pronounce the name. I've heard the name Sabrina Carpenter, but I have no clue who that is either. So I'm nearly 40 in a few months. Am I that out of touch, or do people not know who these people actually are now? Wanted courts to hold ISPs financially liable for not disconnecting users accused of piracy. Not convicted, keyword, accused. The accusations themselves came from an automated system paid for by the Recording Industry Association of America. There's the IRAA again, if you guys remember them from back in the day. These are the same individuals who started suing random ISP addresses because they allegedly pirated some music. Remember, if you guys remember back in the day, these individuals sued a 12-year-old girl. They sued an 85-year-old grandmother because those IP addresses ultimately connected to those people. They started just suing everybody. And it was like, you're suing kids, you're suing grandmothers and grandfathers. Like, what are you doing? Like you guys are out of your minds. Here we go again with the Recording Industry Association of America. So this is their genius idea. Luckily, the Supreme Court slapped it down, which hires an anti-piracy company to blast notices at internet providers whenever its software detects possible infringement. Nobody reviews these notices with any care. Nobody checks whether the flag activity was actually illegal, whether it fell under fair use, or possibly whether the person named on the account was even the one responsible. It's a whole other thing. My internet's under my name, but I'm not the only one that uses it. So if somebody in my place decides to pirate music, I didn't do it. I have no reason to. We could stream music these days. So this is not 2003, So I don't. So yeah, how do I know who did it or who did not do that? So it's the legal standard is just absurd. Under the legal standard labels, wanted ISPs that received enough of these automated complaints and didn't disconnect the account could face catastrophic financial liability. A Virginia jury bought that theory in 2019 and hit Cox with a verdict over $1 billion. Jesus Christ. Like, why would you buy that theory? I mean, luckily the Supreme Court slapped it down, but Virginia jury is like, oh yeah, Cox owes $1 billion in music industry. There's no basis for that. The incentive structure that kind of liability creates is terrifying if you think it through for more than a few seconds. When an ISP faces $1 billion exposure for not cutting people off, the only financially rational response is to start cutting people off aggressively. Cox, the largest private broadband provider in the country with more than 6 million homes and businesses on its network, tried to explain the human consequences. Its lawyers argued that disconnecting service after receiving automated notices accusing of an unknown user at a home or business of infringement would force the company to kill internet access at entire locations based on bare accusation against a single user. A family of 5 loses their connection because one teenager allegedly downloaded a song. The hospital serving hundreds of patients and their families goes dark because someone on their guest Wi-Fi triggered an automated flag. A university campus gets throttled or disconnected because students were doing what students would have always done. That notion turns internet providers into the internet police and jeopardizes internet access for millions of users, Cox told the court. Actually, the real reason why Cox is worried about this because they were going to lose business if they had to cut off everybody from the internet that the IRAA alleges that downloaded pirated music, and they would use a shit ton of money. And that's the real reason why they were against this. Not because they were trying to protect people's access to the internet. They don't really give a shit about that. They just want your money. Let's see. The ACLU put the stakes in plain terms. Parents' internet access may be terminated based on the conduct of their children over even their children's friends. A hospital that offers internet access to dozens or even hundreds of patients and their families could face critical access shutoff. That's the thing. I know that hospitals these days are connected to the internet, so they do everything. They have patients' files, charts, X-rays, MRIs, CAT scans, EKGs, whatever they need is all digital and connected to the internet. So if an ISP has to cut them off because of this standard, then people are going to die. And it's going to be on the IRAA ultimately. Luckily, the Supreme Court ruled correctly on this, which is shocking, but that's what happened. That's what the Fourth Circuit legal standard actively encouraged. The appeals court upheld Cox's contributory liability while tossing the $1 billion damages figure, creating a rule that treated ISPs' failure to disconnect accused infringers as grounds for massive financial exposure. If the Supreme Court had let that stand, every broadband provider in America would have been weighing the cost of a lawsuit against disconnecting a customer. The customer will lose that calculation every time. So even the Fourth Circuit legal court of appeals let it stand, and they put that standard in. Luckily, somehow, shockingly, the Supreme Court ruled correctly here. Let's see. And this would have landed hardest on the people with the least power to fight back. A corporate law firm with a dedicated IT department and legal counsel can challenge a wrongful disconnection. A single parent relying on one broadband connection for remote work, their kids' schooling, telehealth appointments, and every other essential function that now runs to the internet cannot. The recording industry's preferred enforcement model would have created a system where the most vulnerable internet users bore the greatest risk of losing access based on the flimsiest of evidences. So, yeah, I just came across this story a few days ago, and it's like, wow, this should have been covered more by the media. But of course, they didn't cover it because they're horrible. They suck. I got this from reclaimthenet.org. So they do good work there. So let's see. I got another one, I think, from them. I think. Hold on. Let's do that for now. I mean, when I came across that article, I was like shocked. Like, really? Like, is that how far we've gone these days? Let's go to this one. Let me try sharing my screen. Oops. Here we go. Idaho bans mandatory digital ID with new privacy law. In a country racing to put every ID on a screen, Idaho just wrote the right to say no into law. Idaho just became one of the few states to draw a line against the mandatory digital identification. Governor Brad Little signed Senate Bill 1299 on April 1st, 2026. And the new law does something genuinely unusual in American state politics right now. It pushes back against digital ID rather than pushing it forward. The bill creates Section 67-2364 of the Idaho Code, prohibiting government entities from requiring any person to obtain, maintain, or present or use a digital identification. Approximately 3/4 of U.S. states are currently offering developing electronic driver license. The national momentum is clearly towards digital ID systems, with states like Arkansas, Texas, Georgia, and Utah all advancing their own versions in 2025 alone. Idaho is swimming against that current. The bill introduced by Senator Tammy Nichols goes further than a simple opt-out. It prevents public entities from denying, delaying, or conditioning or reducing any service, benefit, license, employment, or education or access based on a person's refusal or inability to use digital identification. That second clause, or inability, protects people who can't use digital ID, not just those who won't. Anyone without a smartphone, without reliable internet, without technical literacy to navigate a digital wallet keeps full access to government services. Physical, non-digital identification remains valid for all governmental purposes under this law. The bill also addresses what happens if someone voluntarily shows digital ID during government interaction. A government entity cannot require a person to surrender, unlock, or relinquish control of their personal electronic device for identity verification. Handing over your phone to a police officer or clerk at the DMV is not the same as handing in a laminated card. A phone contains your messages. I don't know why my chat's not updating. Anyways, a phone contains your messages, your photos, your browsing history, your location data. Presenting a digital ID shall not constitute a consent for search or access to any other contents of the device. That's a Fourth Amendment protection written directly into state statute. Government agencies are also barred from using digital IDs as a surveillance tool. The law prohibits agencies from tracking individuals, retaining identity data beyond a single transaction, using digital identification and universal or shared credentials across agencies. That last restriction is particularly significant and blocks the creation of a de facto digital identity system where a single credential follows you from the tax office to the library to the health department, linking every interaction into a unified government profile. The bill did not survive the legislative process unscathed. The Senate amendment removed the original provision stating that information incidentally observed on the device should not be used to establish probable cause or justification for further search or seizure. That was a strong protection against any kind of casual surveillance that happens when a government employee glances at your phone screen while checking your ID. Its removal was a real loss. The amendment also weakened enforcement. The original bill provided statutory damages from $500 to $2,000 to $2,500, and civil penalty up to $5,000 against government entities that violated the law. The amendment version stripped out those, so there's no fines against the government basically now if they happen to violate your rights. Enforcement now rests with the Attorney General, who must give the public entity 15 days written notice to fix the violation before taking any action. Citizens can still seek that a declaratory or injunctive relief, and prevailing plaintiffs will get attorney's fees. But the direct financial penalties that would have made agencies think twice are gone. The amendment also added a provision stating that no public employee shall be personally liable for actions taken within the employee's scope of employment, which removes individual accountability almost entirely. So it's very similar to what the police officers get, immunity. What's that called? Something immunity. So I forget what it is right now, but yeah, you can't actually sue the police officer himself or herself. You have to sue the department. So it's something immunity. I forget what it is right now. I'll remember eventually. Across the country, lawmakers are introducing child safety, age verification, digital modernization bills that expand digital identity systems. Idaho's own legislature considered HB 542 in the same session, a bill that would have compelled platforms to continuously track, estimate, and verify the identities of all users, including minors. The fact that both bills moved to the same legislature in the same session tells you something about the competing pressures these lawmakers face. The broader context is hard to ignore. Digital ID systems are convenient, and convenience is how surveillance expands. You start with a voluntary app, then agencies quietly stop supporting the physical alternative. Then you can't renew vehicle registration or pick up prescription without pulling out your phone and authenticating through a system that logs you when you were there, what you needed, and what device you used. Idaho's law is designed to prevent exactly that slow erosion. Whether the weekend enforcement provision given enough teeth to actually do so is a whole other question. So at least there's something. There's one state that's pushing back against digital IDs. Thank you, qualified immunity. That's what I'm looking for. Basically, this bill gives the actual employees qualified immunity. So yeah, there you go. At least there's one state that's pushing back against this. But the law seems kind of toothless because ultimately there's really you can ultimately sue, but all you would get is your attorney fees back. Like you wouldn't get an actual monetary settlement or anything like that. So it's nice, but it's not. I don't think it's good enough. I think you need more. Oops, go back. No. Let's see. Oops. Where is it? Oh, of course. This would have been interesting, but unfortunately, it's behind the paywall. Linux distributions or distros are mounting a response to the age verification ID laws coming from your OS, but unfortunately, it's behind the paywall, so I can't really read it. I'm not going to give them money. One developer has already registered their distribution under the law's own definition and declared intentional noncompliance on the front page. So, unfortunately, I couldn't read this, but Linux, it's going to be an issue for these people to try to force like all these Linux distributions to actually comply with their age verification laws. So I did save that, but I didn't realize that it was a paid article, so I'm obviously not getting any money, and so I can't read it. Let's see. Let's go to this one. Red state, blue state, they all love control. Oh yeah. What surprises me is all these red states supporting age verification. Oops, I don't know why that popped up there, but that doesn't really surprise me. I mean, Republicans are hypocrites on this. I mean, they when the Democrats are in charge is like, privacy, blah blah blah, all this other shit. As soon as they're in charge, they all go full authoritarian too. So this type of hypocrisy doesn't really surprise me, but you would expect them to be against this type of shit, but they're not, or at least most of them are not. This is from macrumors.com. Apple is, doing what Apple does. This is from today. Apple on Thursday announced it would be permanently closing 3 of its retail stores in the U.S. in June. One of them was unionized, so they closed down the unionized store. It's convenient for them. Let's see. Apple's Townsend Town Center in Townsend, Maryland, was one of the 3 stores being shuttered with no replacement store plan. The staff at this location became Apple's first retail employees in the U.S. to unionize in 2022. They belong to the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, coalition of the Organized Retail Employees, CORE. I am CORE. They signed a collective bargaining agreement with Apple in 2024. Well, at least Apple did negotiate and agree to a CBA with them, like unlike Amazon or Starbucks, who actively ignore their members, their factories or stores that allow pass a vote for a union, but they actively fight against them. The other two locations are permanently closing are Apple Trumbull in Trumbull, Connecticut, and Apple North County, Escondido, California. Let's see here. Apple says the employees of the Trumbull and North County stores will continue their roles at the company at nearby store in each area. So transfer eligibility is guaranteed. Meanwhile, the unionized store, Apple says employees of the Townsend store will be eligible to apply for open roles at Apple in accordance to their collective bargaining agreement. It is unclear if everyone who applies will successfully secure a new position in the company. So in other words, their jobs are not guaranteed. It's like, oh yeah, we shut down your store. You can reapply somewhere else. We may hire you, but very likely we're not going to hire you. We're just going to let you twist in the wind and stew without your job. In a statement, Apple said it made a difficult decision, quote unquote, to close all three stores due to declining conditions at shopping malls where they are located. Yeah, malls are falling apart. Malls suck, and nobody goes to malls. That's true, but it's very convenient that you shut down the only unionized Apple store in the U.S. At Apple, we are consistently striving to deliver exceptional service and great experiences for our customers. If we continue investing and expanding to expand and enhance our retail stores and offerings worldwide, we remain deliberate about evaluating our existing locations to ensure they meet our customers' needs in the best ways. Following the departure of several retailers in declining conditions at Trumbull Mall, the shops at North County and Townsend Town Center, we made the difficult decision to close our stores at these locations. Our team members at Trumbull and North County will continue their roles at nearby Apple retail stores. Townsend employees will be eligible to apply for open roles in Apple in accordance to our collective bargaining agreement. We look forward to continuing to serve customers at nearby stores on Apple.com, the Apple Store app, and Apple authorized resellers and service providers throughout the states. So that's corporate doublespeak for the non-unionized stores will be guaranteed work. The unionized store, you're not guaranteed work. Fuck you for unionizing and costing us a little bit of money. Let's see. Townsend Town Center is indeed struggling shopping mall that has lost many major retailers. Early this year, Banana Republic, Madewell, and Tommy Bahama announced they were leaving the mall. I have no idea what any of those stores are. In addition, local news outlets have reported that the area surrounding the mall is facing a rising crime rate in recent years. The statement IAM Union said it was outraged at Apple's decision to close the Townsend store and raised serious concerns about union busting. IAM added that it's exploring all legal options and will work with elected officials and allies to hold Apple accountable for this decision. Apple is yet to respond to our follow-up questions regarding IAM's statement and the accusations of union busting. Apple Townsend Center closes June 20th, according to a source familiar with the matter. So there's an update to this story. According to Apple, the contract that the union agreed to states that in the event of a store closure, Apple would transfer or rehire employees if the company opened a new store within 50 miles of the current location at Townsend Town Center. Any other circumstance, the union negotiated for employees to receive severance. If Apple has no plans to open a store in the area, if it were to do so in the next 18 months, the affected employees would have the right of first refusal. So apparently, if their Apple has no intention of opening a new store in the area, then the unionized employees get some sort of severance pay, but it doesn't say how long it is or anything like that. So there you go. Apple's union busting again. Yeah, at least, and the one positive is they agreed to a CBA with that store, which is shocking. Like I said a few minutes ago, at least they're not Amazon, where they're ignoring that warehouse that Chris Smalls got to unionize. They're just ignoring their demands for a collective bargaining agreement. Starbucks is actively closing stores and punishing, stores that unionize. So the one positive I can say about Apple, at least they agree to CBA, but at the same time they do shit like this. Then you just close the one store that unionize and then fire all of them. It's like, oh yeah, you may have a job, and most likely you won't, and we'll just give you severance for 90 days and tell you to fuck off. I'm speculating in the 90 days, but That's usually the severance packages that most people get when they're fired. So it's like, let's see what else we got here for you guys. Sorry. Let's look at this one. Oh. No, this is Donald Trump announcing the 2-week moratorium or ceasefire. That's what I'm looking for. Moratorium is the same thing, but the 2-week ceasefire in Iran, which by the way Israel broke when they attacked Lebanon, because the Iranians also made it clear that Lebanon was a part of the ceasefire. But of course, Israel immediately breaks the ceasefire by attacking Lebanon. But here is the President of the United States on his own platform here, Truth Social. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munar of Pakistan, and where they have requested that I hold off the destructive force that being sent tonight to Iran and to complete and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran, agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. I agree to suspend the bombing and attacks of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is because we already met and exceeded all military objectives, in that we've come very far along with a definitive agreement concerning the long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe that is a workable basis which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as president, also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. From July 7, 2026 at 6:32 p.m. Whatever. Quite frankly, Iran shouldn't fall for this because Israel already broke the ceasefire by attacking Lebanon, but we'll see what happens. Let's see here. I got more here. Where is it? Let's go with this one. From Arab News, let's see. China is quote unquote ready to cooperate with Russia to ease Middle East tensions. So the Chinese are going to work with the Russians to try to get some sort of peace deal or attempted deal of some kind. There we go. Let's see. Oops. Beijing. China's willing to cooperate with Russia at the UN Security Council and make efforts to cool down the Middle East situation. Foreign Minister Wang Yi, I butchered that, told the Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on the phone on Sunday. Wang said the fundamental way to resolve navigation issues in the Strait of Hormuz is to achieve a ceasefire as soon as possible, adding that China has always advocated for political settlement of hotspot issues through dialogue and negotiation. The foreign minister's call came ahead of UN Security Council vote next week on a Bahraini resolution to protect commercial shipping in and around the Strait of Hormuz. As permanent UNSC members, China and Russia should adopt the objective and balanced approach to seek to win greater understanding support from the international community, Wang told Lavrov, according to a statement from his ministry. The Russian Foreign Ministry statement said the ministers discussed a way to achieve rapid ceasefire and launch a political diplomatic dialogue. Let's see. Satisfaction was expressed at the coincidence in Russia's and China's approaches on most issues on the global agenda, including the situation around Iran, related to the unprovoked aggression of the U.S. and Israel against the country, it said. Well, China and Russia are getting together and trying to bring peace to the Middle East. I don't see that happening. I mean, in the Security Council, we definitely know that the U.S. is going to block any attempt at peace through there. So China and Russia are kind of, posturing here like, oh, yeah, we're pro peace. We know there's no chance that the U.S. would accept that because they'll kill it in the Security Council. But hey, at least we're trying, China has repeatedly called for a ceasefire in the Gulf region and the Middle East, urging an end to the fighting that has run for more than a month and largely closed the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping artery for oil and gas. So, we kind of talked about this last week where I covered an article that basically says that Russia is benefiting greatly from this. The Russian government, Putin, and the tax dollars they're bringing in, or the dollars they're bringing in from the oil, is higher than they ever imagined post the Iran war. So, but the Russians are allegedly trying to get peace, even though they're making money hands over fist after this war started. But hopefully, they're telling the truth. So. We'll see here. Got more here. So this is the actual article here from antiwar.com. Trump declares 2-week ceasefire with Iran. President Trump declared on Truth Social, which I read already on Tuesday, that the U.S. was going to stop bombing Iran for a period of 2 weeks as part of a mutual ceasefire deal through Pakistani mediation. Trump said it was subject to Iran agreeing to open the Strait of Hormuz, and it was initially unclear if Tehran had agreed. But Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a statement that if the U.S. and Israel stopped attacking Iran, Tehran would cease a defensive operation for a period of 2 weeks. Safe passage to the Strait of Hormuz will be possible with coordinating with Iran's armed forces. According to Iranian media, Iran's Supreme National Security Council has since issued a statement saying that it achieved a historic victory by getting the U.S. to accept Iran's proposed 10-point ceasefire plan. So Donald Trump managed to attack a country, and if this is true, we got our asses kicked in such a humiliating way that we agreed to most, if not all, of Iran's 10-point ceasefire plan. That's humiliating. I mean, we just got our asses handed to us to the point where Trump is agreeing to whatever Iran puts on the table, allegedly, because this could be a big head fake again, like they did before. Yeah, we're negotiating for real peace, and we're negotiating for this, that, and the third. Oh yeah, by the way, Israel is going to bomb the shit out of you while we distract you with this negotiation. So this could be more of that bullshit again, but hopefully not. Again, Israel has already violated the ceasefire because they're attacking Lebanon, and Iranians said Lebanon was part of that ceasefire deal, which is Iran. The Israelis are already violating that deal. Let's see. President Trump said on his post on Truth Social, blah blah. I already read all that. Very far peace in the Middle East. Okay. The president also said the U.S. had received Iran's 10-point peace proposal, and according to media reports, the proposal includes an end to all conflict in the region, including the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, and the lifting of all U.S. sanctions on Iran, and a mechanism for transit through the Strait of Hormuz that will involve Tehran charging a fee and using that money for reconstruction. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as president, also representing the country of the Middle East, who is the arbiter that made Donald Trump represent the countries of the Middle East? Like, since when did he become the arbiter? He's like obviously just talking shit and acting like he was a pro wrestler cutting a promo when he's actually president of the United States. But I digress. I mean, let's see. Golden says, this world is one of sadness. Battle brings death. Death brings sorrow. The living may not hear them. Their voices may fall upon deaf ears, but make mistake, the dead are not silent. Sorrow. Well, that's well said. Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see. So let's get to this. Whoops, here we go. Yeah, Trump, when he threatened the death of a civilization, that to me was an obvious wrestling promo. And he's just talking shit, you know. Everybody freaked out about that. Everybody on the left, on the right, center, everyone freaked out about that. I'm like, who cares? It's Trump running his mouth. I mean, ultimately, he's not going to do anything, because if he does anything with nukes, Iran, you lose trillions of dollars in minerals and oil wealth. And Trump wants that mineral oil wealth, which is why he invaded Iran. So, yeah, it makes no sense for Trump to turn around and just nuke Iran and lose all that money. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not for one single solitary second. I believe that. So, let's see. Mouse says, life is suffering, which is why I keep one foot in the land of the dead. Is whatever you need to do to, keep sane in this fucked up world, by all means. So let's get to this. Supreme Court appears likely to decide against Trump on birthright citizenship. So, as everybody knows, beginning of his term, Donald Trump signed an executive order basically taking away birthright citizenship. Don't know how that would have worked. And to this day, I still don't know how the executive order works, but somehow he signed an order basically saying, oh, yeah, birthright citizenship, the 14th Amendment, not a thing. I'm not going to follow it anymore. Let's see. January 2025, President Trump signed an executive order that would end birthright citizenship, the guarantee of U.S. citizenship to virtually everyone born in this country. Trump's order has never gone into effect. Since then, every federal court that has considered a challenge to the order has struck it down. After just over 2 hours of oral arguments on Wednesday, before audience had included for at least part of the morning Trump himself, a majority in the Supreme Court seemed likely to do the same. Ratified in 1868, the 14th Amendment includes a provision known as the Citizenship Clause, which confers the citizenship of anyone born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The provision was originally added to the Constitution to overrule Supreme Court's infamous 1857 decision of Dred Scott versus Sanford, holding that black people whose ancestors were brought to this country and sold as enslaved persons are not entitled to any protection from the federal courts because they were not U.S. citizens. But for more than a century, the clause has been understood to confer citizenship on almost everyone born in the United States, subject to only a few narrow exceptions. Excuse me. Trump floated the prospect of ending birthright citizenship during his first term in office, but he encountered resistance even within his own party. Trump did not give up on the idea, and now on the first day of his second term, he signed an executive order protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. To do so, the order ended birthright citizenship for the children of undocumented immigrants, as well as those immigrants who are in the United States legally but temporarily, for example, on a student or work visa. Challenges to the executive order followed around the country. The first federal judge to weigh in on the legality of the executive order, senior U.S. District Court Judge John Coffner of Seattle, called it blatantly unconstitutional. Other judges followed Coffenhauer's in blocking Trump's administration from enforcing the order. This prompted the Trump administration to come to the Supreme Court last year, asking justices to weigh in on the propriety of so-called universal or nationwide injunctions ordered by federal district judges that bar the government from implementing a policy from anywhere in the United States. By a vote of 6-3, the Supreme Court in Trump v. Casa limited the ability of lower courts to issue universal injunctions. The challenge of the legality of the executive order then continued to move forward in the lower courts, including in New Hampshire, where a federal judge issued an order that temporarily barred the Trump administration from enforcing the order against a group of babies who are or would be denied U.S. citizenship by the order of U.S. District Court Judge Joseph Laponte wrote, quote, that the executive order likely contradicts the text of the 14th Amendment and the centuries-old untouched precedent that interprets. Then the Trump administration came to the Supreme Court in the case Trump versus Barbara, asking the justice to weigh in on the legality of the president's order ending birthright citizenship. Representing the Trump administration, U.S. Solicitor General D. John Sauer. What kind of douchebag abbreviates their first name? Like D. John Sauer. Like, was it Dick or I don't know? But to me, only douchebags abbreviate their first name like that. It usually is your middle name, you know. But nope. This guy, I digress though. It's a silly little thing, but still, I mean, that's kind of annoying to me. He told the justice that the 14th Amendment citizenship clause was adopted to give newly freed enslaved people in their children's citizenship. For decades after the adoption of the clause, he said commentators recognized that children and temporary visitors were not citizens. Moreover, he added most countries did not have birthright citizenship, which he argued rewards illegal immigration. And he contended that birth tourism, the practice of women coming to the United States specifically to give birth so that children have U.S. citizenship, is creating a whole generation of American citizens abroad with no meaningful ties to the United States. Hold on, I'll read that in a second. Let's see here. I want to. There we go. Cecilia Wang, oh come on, who represented the challengers on Wednesday, pointed to the long-standing agreement that the United States that everyone born here is a citizen. The 14th Amendment, she said, established a fixed bright line for the rule of citizenship that is workable and prevents manipulation. Much of Wednesday's arguments focused on the court's 1898 decision in the case of Wang Kim Ark, who was born in San Francisco to parents of Chinese descent. When he tried to return to the United States and visit in China, immigration officials challenged his citizenship. A majority of the Supreme Court in that case agreed that Wang Kim Ark was a U.S. citizen. Writing for the majority, Justice Horace Gray explained that although the main purpose of the 14th Amendment has been to establish citizenship of black people, including former enslaved persons born in the United States, the amendment applies more broadly, and it's not just restricted by color or race. Instead, he wrote, the amendment affirms the ancient and fundamental rule of citizenship by birth within a territory and the allegiance and under the protection of the country, including all children born here of resident aliens. This continues. I'm not going to read all this, but pretty much there's a legal argument that they're arguing that the administration is like birthright citizenship is not actually real, just applied to slaves and black people. Let's see. I want to actually read you the 14th Amendment because it's very clear. Hold on. Where is it? Here we go. The amendment is very clear. 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. So that right there is clear. This isn't like, there isn't nuance to this or anything like that. There's nothing. It's very clear. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. Let's keep going. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. So that's clear. There's no ambiguity. There's no. It's not black. It's not shades of gray. It's black and white. All persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject of jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. So there's nothing here. They got nothing. Jesus, I mean, I could barely speak right now. Let's see. Where is it? Sorry. Let's see. Big oil crashed in while war sent price soaring. Ordinary people pay more at the pump, but fossil fuel executives are cashing out. A new analysis reported by Wall Street Journal found that oil and gas executives sold off a staggering $1.4 billion of stock as Donald Trump's war in Iran has sent energy markets into chaos and pushed fuel prices higher. The sell-off involving executives from Chevron, Concro Phillips, Diamondback Energy, Baker Hughes, and other major firms reached a 15-year peak at nearly a dozen companies. Number of executive unloading shares hit or surpassed 10-year records. So all these executives know. They know that this is a disaster. So they're selling now before their stock price tumbles even more. The timing is hard to ignore as war escalated and Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a critical artery for global fossil fuel shipments. Oil companies' share prices jumped. Consumers, meanwhile, left paying the price. According to 350.org, war-driven spikes in oil prices have already cost consumers and businesses an additional $104.2 billion to $111.6 billion globally. Democratic members of the Joint Economic Committee found that Americans alone spent an extra $8.4 billion at the gas station during the first month of Trump's war. Variety Data Research Chief described the executive stock sales as opportunistic behavior, saying there's a breathlessness to rush to cash in. Whether some trades are arranged ahead of time or not, the broader reality remains the same. War once again has become profit engine for an industry that's long thrived on crisis. Let's see. Even with a fragile ceasefire now in place between Trump and Iran, the crisis is far from over. Israel's simultaneous escalation in Lebanon has already raised fear that the truce could collapse entirely. Analysts warn that even the Strait of Hormuz reopens and open fighting eases, so-called fossilization will continue with consumers still burdened by volatile prices, damaged infrastructure, and tight supply. What in this moment reveals is not merely greed, but structure. The war inflates profits for fossil fuel giants while working people shudder at the consequences. The same corporate forces that help drive climate catastrophe are also among the first to benefit from geopolitical destruction. The result is a system where violence abroad becomes economic punishment at home, and the powerful turn global instability into private gain. There you go. Yep. We sure as hell are.
Our universe is doomed! Doomed!
Let's see. So here we go. Oops. Draft registration becomes quote unquote automatic in December. March 30th, the Selective Service System sent the White House's proposed regulations for automatic draft registration for review and approval before they are made public. This is the first visible step in the transition from trying to get young men to sign up themselves for military draft to trying to sign them up automatically by aggregating data requisitioned by other federal agencies. This year-long process began with the enactment of the SSS proposal for automatic registration in December 2025. The new scheme is supposed to go into operation December 2026. So this is the plan. The Selective Service will automatically register you if you're past 18, I believe it is. So 18 to 35 or something like that. The SSS have been keeping a low profile to avoid calling attention to its attempt to lay new groundwork for a draft in the middle of a major military escalation. The SSS has not issued a press release in the 4 months since the enactment of the automatic registration law. It has no details or plans for automatic registration on this website. It has delayed responding to my FOIA request for those plans. This has led to hasty and credulous reports in the past few days by journalists who saw the notice of the proposed rules but haven't followed legislation, didn't know what to expect with the next step in the process, and weren't aware of the widespread and increasingly organized opposition to the plan. This isn't a Trump 2.0 initiative. Documents released in response to one of my FOIA requests showed that the legislative proposal for automatic draft registration was drafted during the Biden administration by former Trump 2016 Oregon State Campaign Director Jacob Daniels. So yeah, this is from the Biden administration. This plan initially came from, and Trump administration picked it up and was like, "Oh yeah, great idea. Let's automatically register people for the draft." even though it hasn't been a draft since Vietnam, but who cares? We need that database to spy on people, I guess. Still at the SSS today, Daniels is one of Trump's loyalists who got the job at the SSS during Trump's first term, but both supported an opposition to selective service has remained bipartisan. Most of the latest news articles have said that all male U.S. citizens and residents will be registered automatically by the SS. That doesn't sound like it. Selective service. That sounds bad. I'm going to say SS. What they should say is that the Triple S will try to identify and locate all potential draftees. Whether that's possible, much less whether the SSS will succeed, is questionable. In addition, let's see. Oops. Did I not share? Oh my god. Sorry, I didn't even share this, but you guys got it. I read most of it anyways. In addition to practical problems of determining who's subject to the draft, which in many cases depend on factors absent from existing federal records and their current mailing address, the switch to a new registration system requires jumping through many regulatory hoops. The 8 months remaining for the new law takes effect aren't much time to complete this process. The law directing the SSS to try to register potential draftees automatically use most of the details on how to establish this through regulation. The SSS has completed the first step in the process by drafting proposed regulation and submitting it to the White House. Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, ORA, has up to 90 days to review the proposed rules and approve them, or send them back to the agency for revision. But most ORA reviews take significantly less time than this. Excuse me. Once the proposed rules are approved by ORA, the Administrative Procedure Act generally requires publication of proposed regulations as a notice of proposed rulemaking in the Federal Register. A window of at least 30 to 60 days for public to submit comments on the proposal, considering of those comments by the agency before it publishes its final rule. The NPRM for automatic draft registration could be published in a few weeks, if not for months. The SSS, a tiny agency, being given unprecedented authority to demand access to data from all their federal agencies. The attempt to register potential draftees automatically would be a large, complex exercise in data collection, data sharing, and data matching between the SSS and other agencies. I don't think it's really about the draft. I think it's more about spying in, getting together a database to spy in on younger Americans or Americans in general. So, yeah. I don't buy this for a second that this is about a draft. Multiple elements of this process require notice and comment by other approvals pursuant to the Privacy Act, Paperwork Reduction Act, and Computer Matching Act. So there's a bunch of bureaucracy this has to go through before it becomes an official rule or a regulation. The SSS has a history of disregard these requirements for notice, comment, and approval for data collection, use, sharing, and the SSS fails to promulgate the required notices or obtain required approvals for automatic registration. These failings may provide a basis for lawsuits against the SSS. The Privacy Act 1974 requires each federal agency to publish a notice in the Federal Register with opportunity for public comment, including specific notification about each system of records about U.S. citizens and residents. The notice must include sources, recipients, and uses of data. Maintaining such a system of records without first publishing a complete notice is a crime on the part of responsible agency officials or employees. Automatic registration will require new sources of registration data from other agencies and therefore a revised Privacy Act notice. So, yeah, I'm not reading all that. If I had, my co-hosts or my panel, I could probably get through it, but tired of reading. So, yeah, pretty much we're fucked. You would be drafted as the SS, though. Yeah, that was like bad. That was like SS. Like, yeah, that doesn't sound good. So, let's see, where is that? Oops, let's do that. That's okay. It's all right. I mean, shit, I'm not feeling that well myself either. So, so yeah. This is now probably the most important thing here. ICE's Israeli spyware expansion signals new era of domestic surveillance. So this was written yesterday at sheerpost.com. Oh. In a quiet but deeply consequential admission, U.S. ICE has confirmed deploying its powerful spyware capable of infiltrating phones, intercepting encrypted messages, and surveilling targets without any user interaction. The revelation buried in the agency letter to lawmakers signaled not just a technical escalation, but a political one. At the center of the controversy is a tool known as graphite, a form of zero-click spyware developed by the Israeli firm Paragon Solutions. Unlike traditional surveillance methods, this technology requires no action from its target. A phone can be compromised without a click, a download, or even awareness. Once inside, it can access private messages, calls, and sensitive personal data, effectively turning the device into a live wiretap. That technology is dangerous, especially at the hands of a government agency like ICE. ICE claims that the deployment is part of a mission to combat fentanyl trafficking. Bullshit. And dismantle transnational criminal organizations. Total bullshit. But critics warn that the justifications become a familiar gateway for expanding surveillance powers far beyond their stated purpose. Civil liberty advocates and lawmakers are sounding the alarm. Representative Summer Lee, one of the officials who pressed ICE for answers, made clear the danger. The agency has not defined who can be targeted nor provided a transparent legal framework of how such invasive tools are used within U.S. borders. That's the issue. Again, Democrats are complaining about the process. They're not complaining about the policy itself. Summer Lee, even one of the most so-called progressive Democrats here, he's complaining not provided a transparent legal framework for how such invasive tools are used within U.S. borders. So she's not complaining about what ICE is doing itself. She's just saying, hey, there's not a transparent legal framework for any of this. So we don't know who's being spied in or why. It's not like I'm against this. This is ridiculous. No, it's basically like, oh yeah, it's a what's what I'm looking for? It's basically a bureaucracy. It's like they want more bureaucratic. It's like, hey, this is who we're spying on. This is why we're spying on these people, and this is what we're going to do with the information. So that's what she's mad about. Not like they're actually doing this. This ambiguity is not theoretical. It's historical. Surveillance programs in the U.S. has repeatedly expanded beyond the original scope, often targeting marginalized communities, activists, and political dissenters. ICE itself has already built what critics describe as a massive surveillance web, utilizing data brokers, facial recognition, and location tracking, to monitor millions, including U.S. citizens. Now spyware capable of penetrating encrypted apps like WhatsApp, tools relied on by journalists, organizers, and ordinary people alike, the stakes are even higher. I need some water. What makes graphite especially alarming is its track record. Reports are already linked the technology to the targeting of journalists and civil society actors abroad. Researchers have identified cases where individuals were hacked through messaging platforms, raising serious questions about how such tools are wielded and against who. This is from yesterday. Someone asked a Palantir employee a question: what went wrong with your life? A good question for those who decide to spend their lives invading privacy and risking people's lives, careers, hopes, goals, and everything. It used to be that a peeping Tom would climb a tree and get arrested. Now these digital peeping Toms are doing it for our quote-unquote safety. What a joke. Had to share this in a larger article about surveillance limits, blah, blah, blah. We need to ask the question to have morals, to have souls. So let's see this video here.
Oh, yo, Thomas.
Oh, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good, thank you.
Hey, yes, good to see you.
Asking a Palantir employee what's wrong with him.
Yes, and you're with Palantir.
Yes.
Oh my God, I love you guys. Palantir, heroes, saints, freaking Mother Teresa, am I right? Palantir, it's gonna be like in the history books, like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Thomas McArdle from Palantir. It can't get any better. You guys have like ICE, IDF, fossil fuel contracts, helping the government spy on people. Wow, how does it feel to be like at Palantir? Like, tell me, like, what got you to Palantir? Like, what went wrong in your life? Like, were you not breastfed? Was it something in your childhood? You can open up. Have I said something offensive? Is Palantir gonna spy on me now?
Yeah.
So where are you coming in from, Thomas? Norway? Scandinavia? Some country where the government doesn't spy on people?
Hey, how's it going? Well, leave me alone. Hey, how's it
Police.
going?
Hey, good. I'm just enjoying.
This motherfucker went straight to the police, like, oh hey, you won't leave me alone. Well, you're in a public street. If you were in a private business, that's one thing. But you're in a public street, so anybody come up to you and talk to you. So, yeah, sorry, you're shit out of luck there, buddy.
My right to free speech.
Sure. I guess this individual has asked you to leave him alone, and I guess he's just kind of wondering what's going on with that.
So, you know, I was just kind of on a public sidewalk being like, hey, like, you know, like, what went wrong in your life that, you know, you're at Palantir? They're like as evil as you get. It's like Chevron, Exxon, Palantir, pretty much.
In all technicality, that is completely legal.
Yeah, even the cop was like, yeah, you're in a public sidewalk, so people come up to you and talk to you. As long as you're not assaulting them, then people come up and talk to you. In order to avoid somebody, you got to enter like a private business or something. Then if they go in there and talk to you, then that's a whole other thing. Let's see. So, yeah, I'm not reading the rest of that, but you guys get the point. ICE is 100% public sideway. Oh yeah, it's 100% true. To be fair, he's harassing. The talking is fine. The walking is fine. The walking and talking is not. But yeah, I mean, is he technically harassing? Yes, but at the same time, it's like at the same time he's out in public, so there's a interesting balance there. I think, you know, I do get your point where technically he is kind of harassing, but at the same time, it's like it's a public walkway. So if you're a public figure, then there is a public figure exception to most like harassment laws or privacy laws. But yeah, you're outside, you're on the streets, so that's why I see your point. But at the same time, it's like yeah, you know, it's a public sidewalk. So I tend to side with the people that like, yeah, it's a public sidewalk. I get to say whatever I want to you, as long as I'm not assaulting you, as long as I'm not touching you. You know, that's what I think the standard is and what it should be. Let's see. Don't need that. What else do I have here? So yeah, let me see. If I'm walking down the street and some guy gets in my face following me and for me blocks shit, this shit's gonna happen. Well, yeah, that's up to you at that point. If that guy wanted to punch that guy in the face, then you know, that's up to you at that point. But actually, if you get the excuse is if you're like this, somebody's face, and their spit lands on you, that's technically assault. So you can defend yourself at that point. So let's see. What else do I have here? I think I have another video or two. I'm going to try to play some videos here because my voice needs the rest and I need it badly. So, let's see. There's my bookmarks. I thought this was pretty funny. Where is it? This is from the account Lost Internet Memes. So from 2012, this video. Why are you gay? Like in a very African accent, though. That's what I thought was pretty funny.
We bring in the studio this morning one of the gay rights activists, Mr. Should I call you Mr? Pepe Julian Onzima. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay. Why are
Why
you
you
gay?
gay?
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
I thought it was hilarious, but it's Africa. You know, a lot of them are passing these like anti-gay laws around the world. So it's like, why are you gay? Let's see what else. Not sure. I assume if you guys are old enough, you've seen this ad before. Right. My shit's not working. Let me get rid of some of these other tabs. Well, I'm having technical difficulties. I can't actually share my goddamn screen. Oh, Lord. Hold on. Hold on. This is... I may have to load back in because this whole thing has just crashed on me. This whole system here, I can't... Oh, here we go. Here we go. Nope, we're good. I just turned off my camera, so hold on. The shit... This is all laggy. Hold on. I just turned off my camera. Nothing's really working here. Okay. Hold on. This is all laggy on me. No, I'm still here. It's that this whole system just all of a sudden became laggy, so... Alright, looks like I'm back here. I think I'm gonna have to close. Oh, come on. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to close some of these tabs. Oh, come on. Oh, again, it's doing the same. Oh, Lord.